When I was a freshman in undergraduate school, I was a Division I track athlete, and I loved competing with my teammates from all over the world. We trained hard and we competed our best, and some of the relationships that I made during this time will absolutely last a lifetime. And many were international students that traveled from all over the world to compete on the grand collegiate stage. And it was during this time that I noticed that many of my teammates and many of the other international students didn't venture far from the campus to explore the city. And this was for a few different reasons. One was a lack of transportation. Another was a lack of knowledge of the places to go. Another was a lack of local relationships. And I noticed that many of the students and many of the international students could possibly come to the university and live in the city for 4 years and then leave without having any exposure to the rich history and the promising future that the place held. Now, I couldn't solve this all overnight, but I began by taking a few of my teammates on half-day and full-day tours of the city in my white 1991 Honda Accord with the automatic seatbelts and Hanson's Shout It Out album on repeat. And this was fun for me because it was an opportunity to build relationships with my teammates, and I also got to share the city that I love. And I called this experience the Amber Vanderburg Tour of Tulsa, or AVTOT for short. We had an absolute blast. And I didn't know at the time that this was going to be the beginning of a pivotal journey in my career. Soon, word got around that there was this girl giving fun tours, and nearly every weekend that I wasn't competing on the road, I would load up my car with international students. And the tours grew in popularity, and I was having a blast pouring more and more time into research about the city and relationships with my colleagues turned friends. The beginning of my sophomore year, I was asked to give an official AVTOT to the International Student Association. I said, sure, sounds like fun. And so we planned the first international AVTOT, and we filled 2 school buses with eager international students. This was quickly moving beyond my 91 Honda. We had food donated by the local restaurants and bus drivers that volunteered from a local church, and we had teams of people that took care of marketing and registration and communication and event coordination. And the buses filled up, and we actually had to turn people away till the next tour. And for the next tour, we filled the 2 school buses again and had sponsorships and resources from the city, the local global association, the local football or soccer clubs, the UN chapter, and city leaders. And these are then there are several different universities and institutions for higher learning and higher education within the city. And we began giving tours to international students outside of my university for other higher learning institutions. So we increased our reach and our impact. Leaders were joining in on these tours and were offering an outpouring of support and resources. And some tours actually added a 3rd school bus, still filled to capacity with international students. And we found that students that participated in these tours reported that they were more likely to be involved in the community, were more knowledgeable about the city, and were more likely to consider staying in the city post-graduation. I continued to conduct the tours a couple of years after I graduated, till I finally turned the honor over to the International Student Association and other organizers that had been a part of this adventure. And over time, we naturally dropped the name AVTOT and began calling it simply Tours of Tulsa. Today, the tours are actually no longer happening in its original context, and it's evolved into better transportation options for international students, and information about local events and opportunities, and resources for community involvement. And so it's actually evolved into a more holistic way to best serve the international students within our city. So what can we learn from the AVTOT? Well, first, if you want to do something, don't wait around for permission. Don't wait around for someone to do it for you. Take that first step. And this was a massive adventure that started in a 91 Honda, blasting the musical stylings of MMMBop. And I've talked to many that are waiting for the official qualifications and certifications. And I talked to a businessman just the other day that was waiting for his degree and his certification to practice business. With the exception of, surgery, don't wait. Begin now. You fake it till you make it. You take that first step, and you fake it, and you fake it, and you fake it, until you get to that moment that you realize you're not faking anymore. I actually made it. And then include others. So first thing is you take the first step. Next, you include others. See, if you can achieve your dreams all on your own, you're probably not dreaming big enough. Almost from the get-go, I asked for recommendations, for advice, for help, for resources. I was not shy about asking for anything or for involving people in this fun tour and in this fun process. The App Tot was going to be a great way to help a lot of people. And I was never in charge of providing food because there were various people on our team that were absolute rock stars at that. And I never marketed the events. We had other awesome people on our team that were pros at marketing. And I didn't even come close to pushing the car by myself or pushing this vision all by myself. There was an entire village pushing alongside me. It's important that you find your team. And finally, be prepared and have a plan, but don't take yourself too seriously. Not everything goes as planned. In fact, hardly anything ever went as planned. And that's fine. It's expected. But whenever the right people are on your team and you have a great support system, it's easier to be agile. To quickly find an indoor place for 75 people to eat lunch in a moment's notice whenever your lunch in the park turns into a massive thunderstorm. To pivot the schedule when there's a miscommunication about lunch altogether. To find a way to connect with people on a bus filled with students from more than 50 different countries. Things don't always go as planned. So have a plan, but don't take yourself too seriously. See, as we continue to grow in popularity, I continue to meet with people and share my vision for the city. I was actually at a dinner with the local United Nations chapter, and I was sharing my passion for working with the international community, my journey as a Division I athlete, and this awesome adventure of App Tot. And it was at this dinner that one of the attendees began to share about my possibilities of working abroad in sport. And so I actually boarded an airplane and I flew to a new city in a new country on the other side of the world, and I began to work in global sport. My first day there was my first time to truly empathize with the students that I had spent more than half a decade helping. I was in a new place without modes of transport, local connections, or ideas of where to go. And then, my very first day, I was given a tour of the city by my new friends acting as hosts. So, here's what I want you to do. Take the first step. Fake it till you make it. Actively find your team. And no, it's not going to all be perfect. Have a plan, but also be willing to adjust and adapt. You fake it till you make it. See, sure, I do look back on this journey and I see scuff marks and I see detours and I see hilarious mishaps. But I also see more than 1,000 international students, dozens of colleagues turned friends, and community relationships that were built in the adventure of a lifetime.